Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Wealth Defense Radio, the podcast. I am your host, Josh Nahosa, and I am an independent advisory representative for SWAN DFW, which stands for Sleep Well at Night Dallas-Fort Worth, and is the company that is putting on this podcast that is run by Hector and I. And Hector is our co-host and
Hello,
chicken
everybody.
wing aficionado, some could
so,
say.
yeah.
But more than that,
I would say.
he is a certified financial planner,
I am.
which is the highest mark in our industry.
Translated from the original Greek means smartest person in the world. Hey, I didn't make that up. That's in the Greek. You can go look that up for yourself.
That you can only read that in Greek.
Yeah.
Very few people know that.
That's right. Very one.
Yeah, just the one. Hector started SWAN 10 years ago, which is exciting.
It's
We're
very exciting.
Decade old.
We're headed to our teens, which will be our rambunctious years.
Yes. So, this week, well, the past couple of weeks we've talked about different age groups and things that they should be doing to prepare for retirement. The first week was 40s, last week was 50s, and this week we are talking to the 60-year-olds.
Yeah. Good. It'll be good.
Yep. So this will be good, as previously
I
established.
just said so. Okay.
So there's a few.
We're going to take points away for the landing on that, by the way.
We're going to talk through some things. The article we're going to read is from Citizens Bank.
Yeah.
We're going to cover a lot of ground, but first, I would like to talk about our odd story of the week.
Okay.
This, I believe, actually, as we're recording this, happened last week,
Okay.
but we didn't talk about it because we were talking about the Olympics last
Right.
week. So it's new to us.
This week is August the 5th, by the way, in case you're wondering.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Ohio Supreme Court has made a ruling.
Okay.
Okay. And they have stated that boneless chicken wings, can have bones. They ruled 4-3 in favor of this decision. Because chickens have bones was literally their reasoning for this.
I'm not understanding. The ruling is that boneless chickens
Boneless chicken wings. Like if you're going
can
to
have bones.
right. If you're going to
Doesn't
like
that not make them boneless?
that's yes. Right. That's the rub of the whole thing.
Okay. Well, there you go. The court systems of America. Why would that be I wonder why that would even be a thing that you would take to court.
You know, so in 2016, somebody went to a wing restaurant and they ordered Parmesan garlic boneless wings.
Okay.
And he cut his wings into pieces before eating them. And one of the pieces that he cut and just ate happened to have a bone in it. And it messed up, like, his throat.
Oh.
And so he said it felt like he swallowed down the wrong pipe, essentially, is what he said it
He had
felt
a
like.
bone in his
Right. And he was like, well, boneless wings.
are not supposed to have bones.
Right. But then, so now, what is this, 8 years later? The Ohio Supreme Court has ruled that they can't actually have bones. The reasoning here is that boneless wings refers more to how they're prepared. This is directly from the court document. And that people that are eating wings, this also directly from the court document, people that eat wings should expect for the wings to have bones, regardless of the advertising, because they're coming from a chicken, and chickens have bones. So, how does that make you feel?
Man, I don't know. It just it on the surface of it, no, how you prepare a wing So I guess they're saying that you prepare boneless wings differently than you prepare a wing with a bone differently?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not a cook, but yeah, I don't think so. In today's vernacular, I would say that's weird. That a court would walk into that, and then two, to say that boneless wings and wings with bones are prepared differently, because that's not the difference. The difference
is if they have bones. Yeah.
And so I think the guy has, if you say it's boneless, should be boneless.
I would generally agree with that sentiment.
Oh, man. If only they would let me run this country, would be in such much better shape. But,
So,
okay.
That's our weird news story of the week. Kind of weird.
Kind of weird.
Thought provoking.
Not really. Just weird.
So there's no easy way to segue from that. But let's move on to retirement.
If a boneless chicken didn't kill you and you're 60 years old.
Retirement.
Retirement.
For 60-year-olds.
60-year-olds.
So a couple key takeaways. Why don't you run through kind of the overarching theme, then we'll get into some more.
Yeah, and this isn't going to be any kind of condemnation thing. It's not, what have you been thinking? Although I would have asked you, what have you been thinking? Although I understand the thinking. As men, especially, we're never going to get old. We're never going to get sick. We're never going to die. But if you find yourself, all of a sudden you're 60 years old and you look down the road and you say, hey, I'm going to have to retire soon, and I haven't done anything, it's not too late. Usually we just got to start taking some actions now, and we're going to talk about the actions that you need to take. Don't panic, and don't say something like, well, it's too late, I'm just not going to do anything. That's not a good idea either.
Yeah, so let's dive into some individual points. This article we're pulling from is from citizensbank.com. That will be linked in the description of the YouTube video if you're watching on YouTube, or in the description on Spotify if you are listening on Spotify.
Okay.
Make sure to like it so other people can find us if you find it helpful. Okay, so step number 1 here from Citizens Bank is have a vision of what your retirement looks like. Have a good idea of what are you going to do. Are you going to have hobbies, passions? Are you going to have a second career? Are you going to work part-time? What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Figure out how you're going to fill your time.
And there's only one person that's going to answer that, and that's you. I will tell you what not, you're probably not going to break out your house shoes and sit on your recliner and watch reruns of I Love Lucy. You can, but that's not usually how it happens. The second thing is, if you're thinking like, well, I'm just going to play golf all the time, and we actually had a client who said that, that's not a very good idea either, because he called me after about 60 days and he said, this is becoming harder than work. Yeah. So have a realistic view of what your retirement is going to look like. I think that's a really good idea. And having a second career, not a bad thing. You may have always wanted to do something, work for part-time. Maybe there's a passion. Maybe there's a ministry. They don't necessarily pay a lot of money, but they'll pay some, and that may help you satisfy two things: something that keeps you in the workforce, keeps you around people, keeps you doing something that you're passionate about, and generates a little bit of income. Just figure out what that thing's going to look like, what retirement is going to look like.
Mm-hmm. The second step is estimate your post-retirement cost of living.
Yeah, we talked about this last week too. If you're making $100,000 a year, it's not going to be $24,000 a year. It's not. You can't take a 76% cut and expect to maintain your standard of living. Rule of thumb is usually around 60, 70's better, 80's best % of your last income. So if you were, if you and your wife or you and your spouse were at $100,000, generating income of $60,000 to $70,000 in retirement might be a good goal. May not have to be that high. It may be 50%, but it's not going to be 20% of what you were making. It's just not going to happen. So be realistic. look at what you're spending now. There's going to be some things that you don't have to pay for, but there's going to be some new things you do have to pay for. And just be realistic about what expenses are going to look like as you get into retirement.
The next one we're going to talk about is maximize your 401k and IRA contributions.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. Now, hopefully the kids are gone and they're out of college and you have a little more disposable income, and start stocking as much money away as you possibly can. That helps in two ways. One, obviously more money. And there's some catch-up provisions you can take advantage of. So they'll let you put more money in it. So you'll have more money when you retire. But the second thing it does is it forces you to live on less. Mm-hmm. And so you start kind of training yourself to live on less money now so that when you retire, you don't have a huge shock to your monthly budget.
Yeah, I think that's important. Because I think we talk about when you retire, it suddenly is different because you're no longer getting a paycheck from somebody. You're still getting money from somewhere, but it's not from somebody that's paying you to do something oftentimes, which can be a pretty jarring thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, and that's one, as we go through our financial plan, that's one of the questions we ask. How do you feel about not having a paycheck every month? And most people kind of freak out about that. They go, that's the one thing, is how am I going to be able to live for 20 or 30 years in retirement without having a paycheck? And then we show them where the money's going to come from, and then they are able to sleep well at night. Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think about that?
Pretty crazy. The next one that we're going to talk about here is take stock of your assets and figure out what you have.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll have 401ks that you've forgotten about, or just other accounts or anything, and kind of consolidate it and get a real good feel for the stuff that you own and have.
Yeah, and there's some, and hopefully you'll find something like that. But even if you haven't, if you've got an old 401k plan, or if you've got IRAs, let's figure out how they're invested. Let's figure out, if we're getting the maximum rate of return that we can on the money you have. You don't want lazy money. You want your money working as hard for you as you work for it. So let's make sure that we've got that thing invested in a way that's going to help you meet your retirement goals. And let's look at real estate, and let's look at, real estate that might be left through an inheritance and those kind of things. Is that going to be something you're going to sell and derive a cash benefit from, or is that going to be something you're going to rent and derive a monthly income from? And if you're going to rent it, then there's other questions. Are you a handyman, or you have to pay somebody to fix these things because things wear out? And so you take stock of what you got. Take an inventory. You can't go somewhere. A GPS can't tell you how to go somewhere if it doesn't know where you are. And so you need to know where you are so we can start taking steps to get you where you want to be.
Yeah.
And that was pretty good. We should write that down.
That should be a clip.
Yeah.
The next thing, step 6 says estimate your future Social Security benefits, but you can actually know.
Yeah. You don't have to estimate. You go to ssa.gov. You set up an account, and by the way, it's different. And I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I have an account with ssa.gov, and I got an email that said, "Hey, we changed, and you have to change your ID and those kind of things. So go and do that. And if you've never done it, go and do that." And and then they will tell you, look, if you retire at 62, don't retire. Don't take Social Security at 62. Before you talk to us. If you retire at full retirement age at 67, this is what your benefit is going to be. If you wait till 70, that's what your benefit, but you can take money anytime. You don't have to calculate. It will tell you exactly what you're going to get.
Yep. If you have more questions about Social Security, we have entire podcast episodes recorded about this. And I'm sure we'll record another one in the not too distant future.
It's a question that keeps coming up, because people want to make it more complicated than it is. And so,
The last thing here is talk to a financial advisor. You want to talk to somebody that's done this before.
We've said that before. Once you retire, and once you get into 5 or 6 or 8 years of retirement, you're going to know way more than you did before you retired. And there's going to be some of those things you would say, gosh, I wish I'd have known that. Well, we help people retire all the time. We have people that have been retired for 8, 9, 10 years, and we have seen some of the things that maybe we didn't look at with them and that we look at now. Take advantage of that. Are we free? No, we are not a nonprofit. We actually work for a living, but your statistic that you found where people that use financial advisors end up with how much more?
15%.
15% more in assets. And so, take the guesswork of where you're going. And if you're going to end up with more money, and if you're going to end up with, here's where we earn our 15%. As we do this on August 5, the market is really sliding, and we just let out a video to our clients saying, it's going to be okay. Take a breath. Don't panic. We've planned for this, and the people that are panicking and are selling are going to hurt themselves long term. So don't do that. Talk to an advisor. He'll hold your hand through difficult days like today, and it's going to be okay.
Yep. So if you would like to talk to two financial advisors who do a podcast on the side,
where would you find somebody like that?
I don't know.
Yeah, but if you could,
we have a couple of different ways that you can contact us. And the first way is with a phone number, and that is 888-SWAN-DFW. And for all of you people that don't know how to type all of those or have the patience to figure it out, that's going to be 888-792-6339.
Yeah, that's good. I would encourage you, if you're 60 and you're here, take charge of your future. Don't be a victim of not planning. Don't let money control you. Take charge of it. It'll be okay. Give us a call or send us an email.
Yeah, the second way you can contact us is through written correspondence, and that's going to be info@swandfw.net. That's info, short for information, like INFO, at swan, like the bird, DFW, like DallasFortWorth.net.
Yeah. And although we love birds, that's not why we called it Swan. We called it Swan because we want people to sleep well at night.
Yep. So thank you guys for listening. I'll catch you all on the next one.
Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
The preceding content is informational only and based on information available when created. It is not an offer or solicitation, nor is it tax or legal advice. It does not consider your financial circumstances and objectives and may not be suitable for you.